Hi, I'm Aaron, and today we're going to make 3 separate doughs. I'm going to make 2 sourdoughs, and I'm going to make 1 yeast dough. So first we're going to start with our 2 no-knead sourdoughs. I have some sourdough starter right here that I've had working for the past 6 months, and I use it bi-weekly. I take a cup of sourdough starter and put it in the bowl. And make 2 sourdoughs, so I got 1 cup there and I've got 1 cup here. And so now after I'm done using the sourdough, I'm going to feed it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed it 2 cups of water and 2 cups of flour and stir it till it's a paste. So we've got that. I'm going to put that away and I will feed it later. So I got my 2 cups of sourdough, and what I'm going to do is add an additional cup of water to both of these cups of sourdough. I use filtered water, that way the chlorine in the city water doesn't affect the sourdough starter at all. Also gives it a little bit more of a clean taste to it. My recipes are not by any means a science. Sometimes I like them a little wetter, sometimes I like them a little drier. Depends on my cooking methods. I'm going to cook these 2 different methods. Okay, so I got these mixed up so the sourdough is completely incorporated into the water. Now I am going to add an additional 3 cups of flour into both of these. This is a half cup. Like I said, it is not a science. So I got the sourdough starter about 6 months ago, and it started out with not a whole lot of flavor, but in the past 2 months I've noticed the flavor of it developing a lot more. This dough, after we have it working, is going to need to sit and ferment or bulk rise for probably around 14 hours. Now I'm going to add in about a tablespoon of salt into both of these. I'm going to add in 1/3 cup of whole wheat flour into one of these. I have noticed that the whole wheat flour is adding significantly more sour flavor into my bread after it's done. But by no means is it overly sour. This starter that I have, it is has a lot of action to it, but it does not have an intense sour flavor to it. I guess everybody's sourdough, how you treat it and where you are, gives it a different flavor. A lot of people add fruit juices into their sourdoughs. I haven't found a need for that just because this sourdough starter is very active. So these recipes are, they're technically a no-knead recipe. I guess I give it more of a low-knead recipe because I do knead it a little bit, but mostly just to incorporate it into a dough ball. So it is able to sit on the counter overnight. So I also don't refrigerate it overnight. There's no need to let it refrigerate overnight. And what you're doing by letting it sit overnight is, instead of forcing the glutens in the flour by kneading and kneading and kneading, is you're allowing the water and the yeasts to align all those proteins that you would normally have aligned by kneading and kneading and kneading. So it's going to be kind of a shaggy looking ball when you're done with it, and by the time you get to it tomorrow, there's going to be some liquid that's been forced off of it. So the one with the whole wheat is going to be a little bit drier than the one that I'm making without the whole wheat. And you'll find that with your baking, your crumb that you get is a result of how much liquid you add into your dough in the first place. Pretty good there. I'm gonna add just a little bit more liquid to this because it was really drying up. So add a little bit of water, need it a little bit more. And then we'll be able to I just cover it up with plastic and let it sit overnight. So tomorrow when I get around to baking it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to form it into a loaf and cook it on a pan, or I may cook it on my stone. And then my other loaf I'm going to use a Dutch oven and cook it in my Dutch oven. And we're going to get that very hot, and you're going to see what it looks like when we cook it in a Dutch oven. So I got these to where I want them to be. So I'm going to cover these up and we will see them tomorrow. I'm back now. It has been 24 hours since I started the sourdough bread. So this is 24 hours of proofing time. I've had it on the counter the whole entire time. So I'm going to punch it down and then I'm going to form it into a loaf ball. So it doesn't take a whole lot of work here just to get it round. And what I'm going to do is I've already put cornmeal on my parchment paper, and then I'm going to put it face down on the parchment, and then it's going to sit for another 2 hours before I bake it. And this is going to be my Dutch oven sourdough bread. So that's ready. This is the other bread that I'm going to make. I'm going to make this out on the pizza stone on my barbecue grill. So once again, I'm just going to punch it down. Now because it's going to sit on my peel for a while, I've really floured my peel. I've also put some cornmeal on it. I've just learned that if I don't put an excessive amount of flour on my peel, that my dough really sticks to the bottom of it and I have a very tough time getting it off when it comes time to bake it. So, a lot of flour. I'm going to get this formed so it's even. That way we get a nice even bake time. This is a much drier dough. Okay, so that's that. Alright, so there's the one dough, and they're both going to sit for approximately 2 hours to rest and to rise a final time before we put them onto their baking stones and into the Dutch oven. So we'll check back in about 2 hours after I got everything preheated and ready to go. So it's been 2 hours. I turned on my oven at 475 a half an hour ago to make sure that my Dutch oven was nice and hot. So my oven and my Dutch oven have been preheating for at least a half an hour, maybe a little bit more even. So I'm going to open up the lid. It is smoking hot. I'm going to turn this upside down and dump it in, straight in like that. Close the lid, open the door, and put this in the oven. I'm going to turn this on for 45 minutes. I'm actually going to turn it on for 30 minutes. And in 30 minutes I'm going to take the lid off and cook it for an additional 15 minutes. This was the sourdough with 100% power flour, and you can cook it in a Dutch oven, or you can also cook it hot on a stone. I'm going to move outside now and cook the other dough on a stone that I have preheating on the barbecue. Okay, so my barbecue is sitting right about 475 degrees. The stone is probably closer to 600 degrees. I've got the dough, which has the third of a cup of whole wheat flour on the peel. It's been proofing for an additional 2 hours. So I'm going to get it on the stone, and then I am going to let it cook for half an hour. Nice and easy. So I'm going to close the lid and let it cook at 475 for at least a half an hour. We'll check. Alright, so it's been a half an hour. My bread is looking wonderful and done. Beautiful color there. This kept it at 450 to 475 degrees the whole entire time. Got a really nice color on it. I did slit the bread open before I started, and that allows it to get a little better oven spring. So that is the sourdough bread that proofed for 24 hours and had 1/3 cup of whole wheat flour in. Alright now, so this has been cooking for 45 minutes. Just pulling it out now. At 30 minutes, I took the lid off and let it cook for another 15 minutes. So, nice dark bottom, nice top. It's going to crack and pop and peel a little bit as it cools down, and probably rip apart a little bit even. So that is the 2 breads that I made from sourdough starter. That is sourdough, flour, water, and salt. And we have 2 completely different breads. I did put the cornmeal on top of this one. Really gets that crust nice and crunchy and has a nice popping flavor to it. So that is the lesson for today. I hope you enjoyed your lesson, and tune in for more.